You know why they have a housing crisis? Because they're doing so well. They can't produce houses fast enough. That's a good problem, not a bad problem.
That's a pretty good answer, President.
No, it's true.
We need more tariffs on the
Is anyone surprised? If you are surprised, genuine question, why? I mean, this isn't really news, is it? Anyone who has been paying the slightest attention to politics should not be in the least bit surprised by that clip. Of course Micheál Martin was going to sycophantically laugh and lick the boots of Trump. Of course he was going to laugh at the housing crisis while throwing the homeless under a bus. Of course he was. He could have just stayed quiet and smiled politely, but no, of course he didn't. Of course he laughed and agreed. Why on earth would anyone expect anything different? Oh, I suppose the 25% of Fianna Fáil voters who were somehow shocked when FFG lied about housing completions might be surprised to see Micheál laughing away at the expense of the homeless, those stuck in rental hell or in their childhood bedrooms or those forced to emigrate, but it should come as no shock to those of us who don't simply rely on the likes of RTE to report on whatever they're told to. So again, why is anyone surprised? When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. How many times do Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have to tell us they don't give a fiddler's about fixing the housing crisis before the population believes them? They are happy with housing the way it is, and they have been given a free pass to continue with the housing policies they have enacted so far the second they were voted back in. The 75% of Fianna Fáil voters who aren't bothered by the housing completions lie tell us everything about those who voted for FFG. They have their house, and that's all that matters. Or, as one Fine Gael councillor so eloquently put it, I own my own house, good luck. And they are the core base of FFG, the May Feiners and I'm alright jackasses who don't care past their own noses and inflated property values. So tell me again why Micheál Martin shouldn't laugh. They were voted back in such numbers that their return to power was academic. I said it as soon as the results were in. We the people just gave FFG a free pass to continue on without needing to even pretend that they give a shit. They don't even need to pretend to care about the optics. Why would they need to care about optics when they have a fawning media ready to extol the masterclass he gave in his visit and a free pass by the electorate? Micheál Martin simply had one of those moments where he said the quiet part loud by laughing and agreeing with Trump's assessment of the housing crisis. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael clearly do believe that our housing crisis is because we are doing so well and that it's a good thing. Of course they do. Otherwise, they would have tackled it by now. When the best solutions to the housing crisis that they can come up with include lifting the eviction ban, continuing to allow no-fault evictions, continuing to allow vulture funds and foreign interests to buy up property in bulk, continuing on with help to buy schemes that only serve to inflate the market further, refusing to build the numbers of social and affordable homes we need at a time of unprecedented budget surpluses, all while continuing on with social welfare for landlords in the form of HAP and long-term leases, refusing to entertain the idea that the levels of immigration are a contributing factor, you know they really don't give a shit about fixing the problems. Oh, and let's not forget one of their latest brainstorms, to allow the building of log cabins in back gardens. That's right, folks, don't live in your childhood bedroom anymore, live in your parents' garden instead. How much more proof do we need that housing is working exactly as intended? The rich get richer at the expense of the poor. The vested interests stack the deck in their favour and reap the rewards, while ordinary people are pushed to breaking point. FFG have only ever cared about making money from the housing market while increasing the value of houses. They have only ever looked at housing as an asset, a commodity, an investment that must make a return at all costs. They have never viewed housing as a social good, as the bedrock of a functioning society, as the basic human right that it is, or simply as a home. Practically every single issue in this country has its roots in our housing crisis. We have a staffing crisis in teaching, healthcare, policing, the defence forces, you name it. Why? Because they cannot afford a home. home. It all comes back to housing. But FFG don't care, because the people they do care about are lining their pockets and laughing all the way to the bank. They'll pretend to care, when it suits them of course. They'll pretend they want to fix things because they know there is an increasing number of people for whom the housing market is not working, and those numbers will only grow until they eventually reach the end of the road and lose power. How long that takes is anyone's guess when FFG have stacked the deck so well in their favour to stifle what they don't want heard and control the narrative. We have very few journalists left in this country, you see, but we have an abundance of reporters uncritically regurgitating whatever governments say, no matter how obviously contradictory it is. But they'll pretend to try to fix things and try to placate the have-nots with lies and sound bites. They knew well they wouldn't hit 40,000 bills last year, but they pushed the figure anyway. In my opinion, this was done to help assuage any guilt some of their faltering core voters had over refusing to vote in a way that helped their children and future generations. Anyone who had been paying attention knew those figures were bollocks, but the lie was enough, and they'll lie again and pretend to care again when it suits them. Housing is working as intended. It's keeping the rich rich and the poor poor, just as intended. Houses are investments that demand a return. This is not news. This has been housing policy for my entire adult life, and we voted them back in. So no, I'm not in the least bit surprised that Micheál laughed away like a gobshite and agreed with Trump, because I know that for once, Micheál Martin wasn't lying. So what do you think? Were you surprised by Micheál Martin's reaction? Were you shocked that they lied about the House bills to sway the election? Do you think they will ever tackle the housing and homeless crisis? Or, like me, do you think everything is working as intended and nothing will change so long as FFG remain in power? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and hit that bell icon to be notified of new content. If you want to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee or a super thanks, which is greatly appreciated, and a huge thank you to those of you that already have. You can also follow me on Twitter. Until next time, slán go fóill.